Epidemic. Now, the Department of Social Development's blueprint to combat gender-based violence in South Africa is not child-friendly and is biased towards women. Well, this is the view of the country's children themselves. The department has been on the road consulting children on the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide, and they've heard criticism that gender and gender-based violence indirectly means women and not children and not even boys. They've also heard that the document glosses over the struggles of the LGBTQI+ community and youth. And the department says it will continue to consult children in the drafting of the paper. So let's find out more from spokesperson Lumka Oliphant, who joins me at this time to take this discussion forward. And Lumka, thank you so much for your time and a very warm good morning to you. I find it fascinating that children hold very strong opinions around such a serious topic regarding gender-based violence. I think as a starting point, take me through your engagement with them and how that interaction was like with young children around what they thought of GBV in South Africa.
Thank you so much, and also just thank you for having us. Firstly, it is not the department's NSP, it is the country's document on how we are going to deal with gender-based violence and femicide. It started last year when we went to the presidential summit on GBVF, where children made recommendations at the summit that they wanted to be included in the drafting and also in the review and also in every structure that is meant to deal with gender-based violence and femicide in the country. So one of the recommendations from the children at the summit last year was that they wanted a separate pillar that's going to only deal with children's issues. So from there, the department then is on this roadshow. So what we are doing is that we are having this roadshow simultaneously where only children are the ones that are going to participate, have been participating, looking at the document. And also when they're looking at the document, they then give us feedback on what they thought of what the document in its current form and what should be changed. So we took them to different places. We started in Gauteng and the Western Cape. Last week we were in KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and also in the Northern Cape. So this week we are going to the rest of the provinces. So it's an open, safe, protected space where children can be able to talk among themselves, put them into groups, they discuss a particular pillar, and they come back and make recommendations on the document.
Yeah. So you're saying that the document, it's not necessarily the department's, but it's a national, document that you are engaging here on with the document. Quite important to note, because there seems to also have been criticism and feedback so far from the children. What have they shared with you, Lumka?
The children were saying, firstly, the document is difficult to understand. It is not child-friendly. And they were saying that the language that is also used there, it doesn't take cognizance of the fact that children stay in rural areas. There was one girl in particular that I remember. She said that, she had to have a dictionary to look at the words that were used there. It was like an adult speak, and she didn't know what things meant, and she had to sit and look at different words and what they meant so that she could be ready for the consultations. Children were saying that, we're saying as adults, we want to cooperate, but who are we cooperating with if we're not cooperating with them? They were saying that even at the table where this document is discussed with the National Steering Committee, they are not there. So they really took us on and they're asking us, what are we doing? And they wanted to be at the table as children of the country.
Yeah. And also, what does that mean then? I'm hoping, and obviously this means that the interaction with the children is not just a talk shop. There is some influence that they hold in terms of the feedback that you have received from them. Because when they say that the document doesn't include much about children, about young boys, about LGBTQI+ youth, surely that is the work that then government needs to consider in terms of making changes and tweaking the document so it's more inclusive.
It would be an indictment on the country if we do not take what the children are saying to us, because their right to participation is protected by law, that everything that we do as a country has to make sure that it is child friendly and also children are participating in it. It was also very interesting when children were saying, it looks like you adults know you've got a problem with each other, but we as children, we don't have a problem with boys. So in your having problems with each other, you then also exclude the boys. And they were saying that they want this Pillar 7 to just talk about them. Or if anything, they want a separate document that's going to look at violence against children. But they also were cognizant of the fact that that might take longer. So they need to make sure that they have the inputs on the current document, and their issues must be separated. They were saying we have a tendency of clubbing them with women, whereas they, as children, they are being abused by both men and women. So we must not make the mistake of trying to think that because women are going through one thing, they too are going through the same thing. They have different struggles, and those struggles they want the country to know, and that must come from them.
Interesting. Lumka, what about the boy child? And I also found it very, insightful that children were able to make this, distinction or this, revelation that it seems that the boy child may be neglected also in unfortunate incidents of abuse. The focus may be on women or perhaps on the girl child, but what about the boy child? Did that come out a lot? Did you hear that, from children saying, or perhaps even young boys themselves, young children themselves saying that, what about us? What about the boy child? How do you ensure that you protect them and not only focus on women and girls?
The boys were saying as well that they have a lot of mental issues because of also how we are trying to separate them as children. The girls were saying that we don't have a problem with boys as young girls of this country. So please make sure that when you talk to us, you don't just say girls, but you say children and be inclusive. The boys were talking about the fact that even, in terms of coming out and speaking about their sexuality is still not safe. The boys were saying that they have a lot of mental issues. The boys were saying that even women were not allowing them to go and have access to their fathers. They were saying as well, their fathers also mix these rights that they have, that when the mother is not giving them access, the maintenance is not paid, and vice versa. So they're saying, these are your problems, old people. It's not our problems. Therefore, when you speak to us directly so that we can be able to tell you and put a mirror on your faces and be able to see how we see you.
Well, thank you so much, Lumka, for speaking to us and, sharing some of the criticism and also recommendations made by these children, because this tells us that these are children that are very much informed, have an opinion, have lived experiences, and they would want, documents drafted by government to be more child-friendly and to be more inclusive, which I found so interesting, but equally insightful to hear that perspective of children. And I appreciate you speaking to me about this as you continue on with your road, showing your tour, I understand, to other parts of the country to engage with more children and further get clarity and insights from them as well. Department of Social Development spokesperson Lumka Oliphant, thank you for your time right here on NewsLink.